Hi, I'm Susan and welcome to Susan Stanley's Stitch in Time. Today is a tutorial on how to put together an English paper pieced flower by hand, and I'm going to show you the methods that I like to use. There's lots of methods out there. There's lots of people showing you their way. I want to show you my way and I want to tell you why I like to use it, and I hope you'll join me today. This method that I'm going to share with you provides a finished edge that's turned under already for whatever you're going to use next. It's recommended using this method that you do not remove any papers until they're fully surrounded. And this is an example. This hexagon here is fully surrounded, so I could take the paper out. If you're going to add more to this and make it blossom and grow, then as these are surrounded, you can also remove those papers, but that's for a future project. The basting on my method does not need to be removed, and traditionally it would have been done with silk or a thick cotton, but today I'm recommending that you use 103 or a very fine stitching thread that's strong, at least 2-ply. I like to use the ladder stitch. I'm going to show you how to do that today. Many of the traditional English paper pieced items were whip stitched. Some were ladder stitched. I like the ladder stitch because it hides your stitches from the top and just has a really nice clean look. There is minimal or absolutely no glue needed for this, and the reason I like that, the reason I don't use glue, is I've had trouble when I use glue, when I remove the paper, I would remove the paper and a bunch of the threads of the fabric would pull away as well, and it just messes up the integrity of your project. You can also use a paper punch to punch a hole in your papers before you use them, to use that as a guide to pull the paper out. I'll show you today how I do it without the paper punch, but if you want to try that, that's something that you can use as well. The kit that I have available on my website, www.susanstanleystitchintime.com. I'm selling these kits on my website. They are a very reasonable way to take an initial step in trying English paper piecing. And so the kit includes a binding clip, a milliner's needle or straw needle. Inside your little bag are 2 glassine bags, and each of these bags contains the fabric and the papers to make one flower. So you have a fabric for a center, and you have 6 fabrics for the petals, and that means you would need 7 papers. So each of these bags contains that. All right, now every single bag is different. I don't think there are very few repeats. So if you're wanting all your flowers to look the same, you'll have to expand and do that beyond this kit. This kit is to get you started. If you buy multiple kits, you can put flowers together and have a really fun, scrappy looking doll quilt at the end if you choose to continue to do more with it, but that's up to you. Some flowers have, they all have one center. Some of them have 3 petals in one color and 3 petals in another. So they're just all very scrappy, and it's a grab bag. I don't know what's in them. They're all packaged, and when you place your order, I'll just pull a bag and it'll be a surprise. So I hope you enjoy whatever you get and that you enjoy this process. Like I said a minute ago, if you would like a hole punch, that's something that you would have to provide yourself. You will need to provide thread and scissors and a thimble. If you watch the video and you like what I tell you about glue, or just using a kiss of glue, You would need a Elmer's glue stick, something that is fabric friendly and non-toxic. All right, let's get started. Let's take a look at how to put a hexagon flower together. This one's been appliqued to a background, but you don't have to do that. There's lots of things you can do with hexagons once you've started making them. The first thing you need for sure is your hexagon papers, and you need to decide what size you'd like to use. And I think starting out a 1 inch or 7/8 inch size works really well. So you're going to need 7 to make your flower, 6 for the petals and 1 for the center. You're going to need a variety of scrap fabrics to play with, and they don't have to be big, but they do need to be big enough so that you can get a seam allowance around your paper. And I'll show you what I mean by that in a minute. You'll need thread and thread conditioner. I'm going to use 103. You need a pair of shears. You need a pin cushion and a straw or milliner's needle, and I like to use a number 9. Optional item is a thimble. Another option is a binding clip. You may want to use some of this fabric safe Elmer's glue. You're just going to use a tiny little dab of it. It's an option. You might want to use a micron pen or a pencil for marking your fabric, and I'll show you what I mean by that in a minute. Okay, another option is to make a template. And so all you do for that is take your hexagon paper, lay it on another piece of paper, and draw a 1/4 inch to a 1/2 inch beyond your hexagon paper lines to make a template, because you're going to make your fabric bigger than your paper, because we're actually going to wrap the fabric onto the paper. All right, so let's move this aside. Let's take a look at our fabrics and see what we might want to use. This one's already been cut. I don't know if it's big enough. Let's see. This would work. I need, a 1/4 inch all the way around beyond it, so that might work. That's a good option. Let's see if there's something that matches it. That one's a little bit skinny. I might have trouble using that. That's pretty, but I don't know. I think maybe I'll just go for something kind of soft and neutral. Maybe this brown. This brown would be the petals all the way around. Or this brown. Let's see if I have enough. Now you can squeeze a piece out of a scrap like this by butting the paper up to the edge as far as you can get and still have that 1/4 inch seam allowance, and then checking. Yeah, I'd have a 1/4 inch here. It'd be a little tight there, but I might be able to make it work. So that's a possibility too. This one would be really pretty. I could place the hexagons on this stripe down the middle that has all that pretty flower activity going on. Maybe I'll do that. Maybe that'll be my petals. And that could be my center. That could be my center. That's kind of off-centered, but I could, no, that's going to be too close on the edge. That would be a pretty center. Okay, so let's see what I do. Okay, I ended up deciding on this combination. This is going to be my center, and these will be the petals. So the first thing I'm going to do is take my center, and I think since it's already cut fairly small, I can just place that on there. Now that's a little bit messy and excessive, so I can hold this in my hand, and once you've done this a few times, you'll be able to eyeball it. I'm just going to eyeball about a 1/4 inch away from the edge. I'm going to pinch it really tight in the center and eyeball that and just kind of clean this up. I don't even have to do that, but I'm going to. All right, so that one is ready to go. I'm going to do the same thing for all my petals. If you're uncomfortable pinching it in your hand and that's just not working for you, you can cut a template like I showed you. Just make it, you know, about 1/4 inch all the way around, bigger than your hexagon. And you can actually draw using your Pigma pen all the way around. And then cut it out from there. Can you see that line? And you can okay, I have my fabrics cut and my hexagon papers are ready to go. Let's start with the center. You're going to pick it up and hold it in your hand. Now, if you're holding this and it just does not feel comfortable, you feel really awkward, and you feel like that paper is slipping around, you can use a dab, and I mean a dab. There are a lot of fabric glues you can use, but you can also use this Elmer's glue. It's safe for fabric. It's been tested over years and it's very safe. And I mean just a kiss of glue and then place it. And that will kind of hold it and keep it from slipping around. The reason you don't want more than just a kiss of glue is that you are taking this paper out eventually. And if you've used heavy duty amounts of glue, you're going to be super sad. All right, and so we're going to fold the fabric over the edge and kind of finger press. And the method I use for this is I baste the fabric. I do not puncture the paper. If you want to go all the way around and finger press, you can. I don't puncture the paper. I leave the basting threads in. They won't show. And I can reuse my papers that way if I've been really gentle on the glue. And if you can avoid using glue at all, I would. Okay. You'll see why I like this method in a minute so much. Okay, so let's go back to our first fold. And we're going to do our first fold and our second fold. And right on that intersection, I'm going to take my binding clip. And you really just need this for the first one. And I'm going to pinch it right there, leaving some of the fabric exposed so I can stitch. I've got my thread ready. I'm going to make a knot, and I use a quilter's knot. Again, then the tail goes down. You pinch it against the needle. The tail is pointing towards the eye. You wrap it 1, 2, 3, sometimes 4 times around the needle and pinch the wrap, and then pull the needle through and keep pulling it all the way till you get to the bottom of the thread, and you should have a nice knot. I show that every time, but I think it's important. I'm going to use just some thread conditioner here, pull it through, kind of, pardon me, sorry for bumping. Okay. Now, my first stitch is going to be on that intersection, and I'm going to go up. I'm going to go into this side, and I'm going to go up, and I'm just scraping the paper with the tip of my needle, but I'm not going through the paper. Okay, and I'm going to go up, and I'm going to go back and do the same thing again. Right by that knot, go right up. Okay, now I have a loop, and that side or that corner is basted. I can move my clip at this point. I'm going to go back. I'm going to go now to my second. I'm going to go in on this side and up on the opposite side and make a loop. And I just pulled my needle through. Okay, got that threaded. Okay, and then I'm going to make the loop, go back in again, and come out. So you're going to keep turning this and doing that same thing, and I've pre-finger pressed it so it's pretty easy. I'm going to move my binding clip, and at this point I don't really even need it, but if you'd like to keep using it, you can. So I'm just going to set it down. So I'm coming in on this side. I'm going to go in this side and out this side and just tack that fold down. So I go up. Now that's just loose. I can't leave it like that. I've got to wrap it. So I go in again, the same place, and up, and I've got that little loop right there, tacking this down. After you do these for a while, it's so just monotonous almost, but kind of a relaxing thing to do because there's just not a lot of thought needed, and you're just gently wrapping, tacking and wrapping, and it's kind of a peaceful activity. It's a great car activity, absolutely fantastic. Okay, so I go up. You might want your thimble for this. I have it over there. You're hardly pushing at all, so I'm not using my thimble. It's a great way to get used to using a thimble if you aren't. Okay, I'm on my last one. Tacking, and I'm going to go back to where I started because I want this thread right here to hold down this fabric. Okay, this fabric right here, I want that to keep it in place. So I'm going to go in where I started and do that same thing, looping it, making my loop. And you can see I'm not consistent. I'm not super worried. It doesn't have to be a teeny tiny loop. It doesn't matter. It's not going to show. It's serving a purpose. All right, and now I'm going to tie a knot. So just go in under one of those threads, make a loop. See if you can see that on the camera. There we go. There it is. I'm going to go in the loop twice, go up through it once, twice, and pull, and I'm done. I have my first hexagon. Okay, there's my center. It's all ready to go. I'm going to do that for all of the petals, and then I'll come back and see you. Okay, I have all my pieces basted. We don't take the papers out yet. Don't take the papers out yet. All right, I want to show you something fun. If you ever want to keep going with this, you can make your flower mixed petals. Wouldn't that be pretty too? Ooh. So there's options, and they are a little bit addicting. All right, now let's put it together. What we're going to do is get our thread ready, and we're going to pick up the center and one of the petals, and you can use your binding clip if you'd like. And so just be conscious of, it doesn't matter so much on this one, but be conscious of the direction of your petal. If this had a design on it and you wanted it to face a certain direction, just be conscious of which side you're going to stitch. So I usually put my binding clip right above the side that I'm going to stitch. That's kind of my note to myself. You can come up with it, whatever works for you. And so just really line those up. I'm going to take our needle, it has a knot in it, and we're going to slip it under the seam allowance, and we're going to poke it right out that corner on this top fabric. Right there. See the needle popping out? All right, and we're going to take a whip stitch into the back fabric, which is our center, and go back through the fabric on the top. And we're going to do that again and make a knot. So we're going to go through the back, and now the light petal center and the petal, and make a loop, and then slide this through and make a knot. All right, so we've made our knot. And now I like to do, instead of a whip stitch, I like to do a ladder stitch. I think it buries better into the seam and won't show from the front. So what is a ladder stitch? A ladder stitch is making little rungs on this folded edge. You see this folded edge here? We're going to make a tiny stitch into the fold of the light petal center. I'm going to move this out of the way because it's focusing on that. Okay. And now we're going to go across from where we came out into the dark brown petal and make a stitch. Okay, and you can look at the diagram in your handout. Oh. All right, pull that out. Okay, and we're going to make a stitch going along right there, and a stitch on the dark, and a stitch on the light side. And do you see that? It's just, you know, about 3 or 4 threads long. And this is the ladder stitch. You can take this off now. Okay, we're going to go all the way to the end and tie a knot just like we did in the beginning. All right, we're at the end, and so we're going to make a stitch going across once, there we go. We're going to make a stitch going across twice, and this is going to be our knot. You can do 2 loops and 2 passes into the loop. Pull it tight, there's your knot. Right, and your first petal is attached. Now you see how those stitches are hidden? You can't see the stitches at all from the front. Okay, we're going to attach our next petal, and I'm just going to go ahead and attach another one of the same color. Although if I was going to do alternate, I would attach that next. That would be awfully pretty. And what I like to do is stitch up this seam first. So I'm going to stitch up this seam. So I'm actually attaching the petal to the petal. Let me fold this back. I'm going to get my clip. Now I know because the center is there, I know I'm pretty well acquainted with which side I'm going to stitch. So I have to flip this over to get it going to the right direction. So I'm going to start again with 1 whip stitch and a knot. Make sure that's in focus. Yeah. Make my knot. Now I'm going to make ladder stitches all the way up to the end and make a knot. Okay, I'll be back when I've got that done. Okay, I'm at the end of stitching the petal to the petal. I'm going to make my knot. So I'll make a whip and then a knot. Okay, let's take a look. Okay, oh. All right, I don't want to cut my thread. I like to keep my thread going. So I'm going to run my thread down because the next seam is right here. I'm going to run my thread down inside the channel of this seam allowance and pop it out at the bottom. So I'm in the right place to start. Okay, I'm going to turn it. Now this is where you're going to be bending the papers a little bit. You're going to turn it so that you line this seam up. This paper right here gets a little bit creased. It's okay. It's already done its work, and you can actually iron the paper out and reuse it. Okay, so I don't need the binding clip. I don't need that, but if you wanted to put the clip right here to hold it in place, you could. All right, so now I'm going to sew up this side right here. So I'm going to take a whip stitch, and then make a knot. And now I'm going to continue doing the ladder stitches all up this side and make a knot. All right, so let me sew this together, and then I'll be back. All right, I'm at the end of that, and I've made my knot. Let's take a look. All right, we've got 2 petals attached to our center. We're ready to add the next one. And I'm just going in this direction. If you go in the opposite direction, that's fine too. So the next one, we're going to do the same thing. We're going to attach the petal to the petal. We're going to go up that seam, and then we're going to run our needle down through this channel. We're not puncturing ever at any point. We're trying really hard not to puncture the paper. Let me get this to focus. We're just dealing with the fabric. The fabric is not glued to the paper, so you can carefully get your needle in under the fabric and not puncture the paper. So we're going to keep doing that all the way around until we've attached all our petals, petal to petal, and then down and petal to center. And then we're going to sew it up. So let me do that, and I'll be back. Okay, my flower's finished. My papers are still in. You can keep going if you want and add another row all the way around. And it can just blossom and grow and become as big as you'd like. You can also make another flower and set the two flowers together and make kind of a cobblestone. It's a lot like tile in early 1900s homes, that black and white tile. A couple things. I like to press this really well after I'm done. Because I have basted this, I can take the papers out. Be really aware though that this can slip and change. So you want to be careful, but you just slip your thumbnail or fingernail in behind the paper and pull it out. And if it's a little bit creased, you can press it and use it again, as long as the edges aren't totally shattered. Lots more things you can do with these hexagons, and we'll be talking about that again in the future. Okay, I hope you found that helpful, and I hope you try it. I can't wait to hear from you. I'm excited to know what you think of English paper piecing. I find it incredibly relaxing. If my eyes are tired, if I've done a lot of cross stitch and detailed close-up applique and work, that's very fine. I find English paper piecing to be just a nice break. It's also extremely travel friendly. It's something that you can work on in the car, or if you're even on an airplane, somewhere where you're confined and you just don't want to have a lot of materials with you. So thank you for joining me today, and let me know what you think. And until then, make time for stitching.